What is up, friends? Welcome back to College Sports Corner. Hope you're having a great weekend. I know you're having a great weekend if you're a Tennessee or Utah fan, especially. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if you call in sick tomorrow and keep the party going. Congratulations to you guys, man. Those are some damn good games. Had a lot of good games yesterday. We're going to go over all those. Got a few news items, not many. We'll get to those too. Before we start, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. Listen to it at work tomorrow when you don't want to work. Put this on, listen to it in the background. I mean, nothing cures the Monday morning blues and a little college football talk, right? There you go. All right, so let's get to some news. A couple of injury items. North Carolina State quarterback Devin Leary looks like he's going to be out for the season. Torn pectoral muscle. Man, it sucks for them. They were having a decent season. Maryland's Talua. I don't even try to pronounce his name anymore because I can't do it. Even sad, but oh well. He was carted off the field in the fourth quarter yesterday with a knee injury. They're going to do an MRI today to find out the extent of what all is damaged in there. And then also a wide receiver for USC last night, Addison, he was taken off the field, went to the injury tent, didn't see or hear what the injury was, but I'm sure we'll find out something later today, maybe tomorrow, who knows. Anyway, prayers to those guys, man. Hope y'all get better. Hope y'all heal up. Sucks, but I guess that's part of sports. Hey, did you see the SMU Navy game on Friday night? Anybody watch that one? I didn't watch it because I was watching high school football online. But it actually got delayed 15 minutes. And you're wondering why? Because SMU's pony crapped on the field. So they had to stop. I don't know when it happened, beginning of the game or sometime. But anyway, game got delayed 15 minutes. They had to clean up the poop. There's a video if you want to see it online everywhere. I personally don't. In all my years, I've seen horses crap plenty of times. So, But if you want to see it, the video's out there somewhere. Hey, yesterday also, besides the big FBS games, we had a big FCS game. Number 1, North Dakota State versus number 2, South Dakota State for the Dakota Marker Trophy. I'm sorry. I guess the trophy divides the two states. South Dakota State Jackrabbits, they beat North Dakota State Bison 23-21. South Dakota State was actually outgained 280 to 111 yards by halftime. Second half, they turned it around. South Dakota State outgained North Dakota State 248 to 74 yards in the second half to win that one. North Dakota State, king of the FCS world, they lost. But you know what? You're still going to get in the playoffs. You're probably still going to have a damn good seed also in the playoffs. So it sucks that you lost to the border rival, but hey, you're going to get in the playoffs, and with the team you have, you may even win the national championship again for the, I don't know, how many times have they won it now? About 457 times or something. So no shame there, but South Dakota State, they're also a good team. They'll be highly seeded in the playoffs. All right, so let's get to these games. We're going to start back on Thursday night. We have 2 games on Thursday, 2 games on Friday, and then we'll get into the Saturday games. Total beatdown. Central Florida beat down Temple 70-13. Central Florida 433 passing yards, 305 rushing yards, 738 total yards in this one. UCF's Plumlee was 18 for 22, 373 yards, 4 touchdowns, and he also ran for 3 touchdowns. Also, Hudson had 4 catches, 121 yards, 2 touchdowns. O'Keefe had 7 catches, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. Temple was held to just 59 rushing yards by the UCF defense. They did come out with 304 total yards, but oh well. Watch this one. This was a really good game. West Virginia 43, Baylor 40. Baylor Shapen 14 for 22, 326 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did get injured in the third quarter. For West Virginia, Daniels was 24 for 37, 283 yards, touchdown. Mathis Jr., 22 rushes, 163 yards, 2 touchdowns. Prather had 8 catches, 109 yards, touchdown. Cox, he had a 65-yard fumble recovery, ran it back for a touchdown. West Virginia, 500 total yards. Started the game fast, but then kind of slowed down a little bit. But the offensive defense played great. So did the special teams for the Mountaineers. Baylor had 590 total yards. Started the game slow, but then kind of came alive on both sides of the ball. Turnovers, though, killed them in this one. So, yeah, they go down by 3 points. Friday, SMU did win that game, beat Navy 40-34 after they cleaned up the pony crap off the field. SMU's Mordecai, 20 for 27, 336 yards, 3 touchdowns, rushed for 74 yards on the touchdown. The touchdown he rushed for was actually 60-yarder, so damn. Gaffney, 116 receiving yards on the touchdown. Levite for Navy, 136 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. He threw an interception. He also ran for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns in that one. SMU ended up with 441 total yards. Navy, 509 total yards. The other game on Friday night, UTSA beat Florida International 30-10. Harris for UTSA, 24 for 35, 303 yards, 2 touchdowns. UTSA ended up with 433 total yards. Florida International, 323. All right, so let's get to yesterday. A lot of great games, a lot of close games too. As in this one, Texas beats Iowa State 24-21. Ewers for Texas, 172 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Robinson had 125 rushing yards. Worthy had 8 catches, 72 yards, 2 touchdowns. Iowa State's Deckers, 329 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and he also ran for a touchdown. UT ended up with 363 total yards. Iowa State, 403 total yards. They only had 74 rushing yards. And I don't know if you saw the game, but at the end, Iowa State was driving on the last few plays of the game. Had a chance to, I don't know if they would have won, but they had a chance to get there and at least kick a field goal and tie it up. 2 major drop catches there in the red zone there at the end. So mistakes kind of killed them there at the end. Could have pulled an upset. Mistakes will kill you every time. Another good one yesterday. Illinois 26, Minnesota 14. Look at Illinois. Beat them a second year. They're now 6-1. Pretty much the top of the West of the Big Ten. Illinois' DeVito, 252 passing yards and a touchdown. Brown had 180 rushing yards. Morgan from Minnesota, 21 passing yards. Not too bad. But he did rush for a touchdown. Ibrahim, 127 rushing yards and a touchdown. Illinois, 472 total yards. Minnesota, 180 total yards. Probably one of the worst offensive performances I've seen by Minnesota in quite a while. Man, they just looks like they weren't even there. Like maybe, I don't know, some substitute team showed up there in Champaign, but I don't know. Georgia Southern, 45. James Madison, 38. Van Treese for Georgia Southern, 578 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Jones had 7 catches for 164 yards and 2 touchdowns. James Madison Santillo, 468 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and he also ran for 3 touchdowns too. Brown had 136 receiving yards and a touchdown. Georgia Southern, 590 total yards. Only rushed for 12 yards. That's crazy. Thompson recovered a block punt, ran it back for a touchdown for 12 yards. James Madison, 675 total yards. It's like James Madison almost outgained him on everything, but still lost the game. That's weird. Central Michigan, 28. Akron, 21. Luke's for Central Michigan, 26 rushes, 126 yards, 2 touchdowns. Akron's Irons, 259 passing yards and a touchdown. Army beat Colgate 42-17. Army 467 total yards. Colgate 342. Army 0 passing yards in this one. That was it, 0. Quarterback Jones, 13 rushes, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns. 4 others rushed for a touchdown for Army. Briscoe hit a 49-yard field goal, although it looks like they probably didn't need it. But Brescia for Colgate, 129 passing yards and a touchdown. Let's see here. Bowling Green beat Miami of Ohio 17-13. Bowling Green ended up with 325 total yards. Miami of Ohio, get this, 91 passing yards, 98 rushing yards, 189 total yards. It's almost like Minnesota yesterday. Crazy how shit works, huh? All right, let's see here. Old Dominion 49, Coastal Carolina 21. Coastal Carolina loses to Old Dominion. Wolf for Old Dominion, 180 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Watson, 256 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. Hell of a game for him. Coastal Carolina, McCall, 358 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Old Dominion was winning 14-7 at halftime, but outscored Coastal Carolina 35-14 in the second half. And when you see that happened to Coastal Carolina, you're like, what the hell's going on today? Yesterday was a crazy-ass day, wasn't it? Miami wins one. Good for them. They're back in the win column. They beat Vatech 20-14. Van Dyke for Miami, 350 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Young had 110 receiving yards and a touchdown. Vatech, Wells had 179 passing yards and a touchdown. Virginia Tech, they scored 14, but they didn't score those 14 points until the fourth quarter. I don't know if they slept through the first 3 quarters of the game or Miami gave them fits. I don't know. I didn't see that one. But, yeah, finally in the fourth quarter they scored. It probably gave their fans hope, too. Probably said, all right, we're going to come back. We're going to come back. And then they, Buffalo beat UMass 34-7. Buffalo Snyder, 277 passing yards, 3 touchdowns in this one. Good game for him. UMass Missouri, 99 passing yards. Adams, top rusher, 65. UMass scored their 7 points in the second quarter. That was it. Let's see. Ball State beat UConn 25-21. UConn trying to go for another win. Almost got it. Ball State Steel, 32 rushes, 179 yards, 3 touchdowns. Good day for him. Turner for UConn, 129 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. So UConn, a lot better than you were the last couple of years, but didn't quite get it yesterday. Look at Colorado. Little Colorado. Colorado Buffaloes win. Beat Cal in overtime, 20-13. Hankerson for Colorado had a rushing touchdown. Lemonius, is that how you say his name? Lemonius Craig, 124 receiving yards and a touchdown. Cal's Plummer, he did pass for 242 passing yards and a touchdown. Wasn't quite enough. The Buffaloes got him. Arkansas 52, BYU 35. This was a shootout. When these schedules came out, back, they come out years before, but when they really come out right before the season, I looked at Arkansas and BYU, and I said, Arkansas's got a tough one, but BYU, they have a hell of a schedule. And if you go back and look at their schedule, look at all these teams they play, it's like almost murderous row. It's crazy. But Arkansas goes there, beats them 52-35. Arkansas, 630 total yards, BYU 471. KJ Jefferson, 353 yards, 5 touchdowns. Sanders had 175 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Landers, 99 receiving yards and 3 touchdown catches. Hall for BYU, 356 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. He had a good day also. Neva, 141 receiving yards and a touchdown. Arkansas goes out there and wins. Good for them. Northern Illinois, 39. Eastern Michigan, 10. Brown for Northern Illinois, 2 rushing TDs. Powell for Eastern Michigan, 11 for 23, 197 yards, touchdown. Paskey, 75-yard touchdown catch for Eastern Michigan. Maryland, 38. Indiana, 33. Almost didn't get it done, and that's the one where Tulua went out with a knee injury. Like we said before, they're going to do an MRI today. So, but Maryland 442 total yards. Indiana 344. Tallulah, before he went out, 270 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and he also ran for a touchdown. Himby, 107 rushing yards and a touchdown. Indiana's Baszler, he had a good game, 285 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Henderson had a rushing touchdown and a TD catch. Indiana's like one of those teams that they want to jump over the hump so bad, but when they get to the top of the hill, something happens that kind of slaps them back down. I mean, they're a good football team. It's just, man, things just don't go their way sometimes. Liberty escapes Garden Webb. They win 21-20. Bennett for Liberty, 222 yards, TD. Hunter, 76 rushing yards and a TD. Fisher for Garden Webb had 239 passing yards and a touchdown, so he had a good game. Gaither, 100 rushing yards, touchdown. And Luther, 131 receiving yards and a touchdown. So you can see why Gardner Webb kept it close with Liberty. Western Kentucky 35, Middle Tennessee 17. Reed for Western Kentucky, 278 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and he ran for a touchdown. Corley had 10 catches, 100 yards, and a TD. Reed is not as good as Billy Zape, but Reed is still damn good. He puts points up on the board. Cunningham from Middle Tennessee, 229 passing yards, passing and rushing TDs. Since Middle Tennessee beat Miami, man, they've just been falling downhill. If I remember right, I think they did win a game between yesterday and Miami. I have to go back and look, but it's been mostly losses. I don't know if Miami wore them out or what, or if they had that attitude. We beat Miami, we can beat anybody, and just go out there and roll their helmets out on the field thinking they can win. Toledo beat Kent 52-31. Toledo, 490 total yards. Toledo's Finn. This guy's good. I like this guy. Nobody talks about him, I guess, because he plays with Toledo. 263 passing yards and 6 touchdowns yesterday. He also had 87 rushing yards and ran for a touchdown. But if you go back and look at Finn's numbers every week, he's a pretty good quarterback. Newton, 137 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. Barkley had 2 touchdown catches. Kent's Cooper, 31 rushes, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns. Not a bad day for him. Troy beat Texas State 17-14. Watson for Troy, 240 passing yards and a touchdown. Hatcher for Texas State, 207 passing yards and a touchdown. Vandy, who started off the year pretty good, has not been so good. That includes yesterday. Georgia beats them 55-0. Georgia had 579 total yards in this one. Vandy, 105 passing yards, 45 rushing yards, 150 total yards. Man, that's just total domination there by Georgia. Bennett, 289 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Brick had 2 touchdown passes. Beck had 2 touchdown passes. 3 different backs had TD rushes for Georgia. 3 different receivers caught TD passes for Georgia. I don't know to say about Vandy. Started off the year off good, running into some good teams and having issues now. Okay, what a freaking game yesterday at 2:30 on CBS. Tennessee pulls it out 52-49. That was the ugliest kick I've ever seen in the world, but it worked. And if you look at different angles, there's some videos out there at different angles. That thing came this close to a boink. So I guess it was just destiny. I thought Tennessee would win this game, and I actually thought the score would be close. I just didn't realize it would be 52-49. I figured it'd be something like 28-21, 27-21, somewhere in there. And it wasn't for bad defense. It's just both these offenses and both these defenses are good. So just kind of had to mash, I guess you would say. Anyway, Hendon Hooker, 385 yards, 5 touchdowns. Hyatt, 6 catches, 207 yards. he was the recipient. He got 5 touchdown catches. Small and Fant rushed for touchdowns. Bryce Young, 455 yards, 2 touchdowns. Gibbs, 103 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. Tennessee, they really started off kind of fast, 21-7 in the first, and kind of faded a little bit. They got it back together though. Started scoring points again into the fourth. Just kind of kept it even the whole game with Bama, which was good for us football fans. Probably not good for Bama and Tennessee, you know. Yeah, Alabama, they started off kind of sloppy. They finally settled in and started scoring points. Defense started playing better. Lots of penalties and mistakes. You know Nick Saban is pissed off. Probably still pissed off today. 17 penalties for 130 yards. That is just crazy. In fact, that is the most during the Saban era. I'm guessing they're at Alabama. I don't know about LSU and Michigan State if he had any greater than that, but at Alabama at least that's a greater. Real good game, back and forth, exactly what we wanted to see. Real slugfest. Congratulations, Tennessee, man. Y'all got yourselves the big win, but you got to keep it up because y'all going to have Georgia coming up. And if y'all can get past that, there's a good chance you may end up facing Bama again in the SEC championship game, but let's not get that far. Still got games to go. But, yeah, heck of a game. Probably one of the best I've seen in a while. Clemson, 34-28. Clemson, 370 total yards. Florida State, 460 total yards, but they still lost. DJ for Clemson, 203 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Shipley, 121 rushing yards. Travis for Florida State, 254 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. He also rushed for a touchdown. Florida State, yeah, more total yards. They also outpassed Clemson, but still managed to lose. And if you're a Florida State fan right now, you've got to be pissed off. The last couple of years haven't been the best. You started this year, I think, 4-0. Looked like you were really going to be going somewhere. And you kind of just slid down the hill. I don't know. That's crazy. Sucks to be a Florida State fan right now after that start they had. Another great game yesterday. Michigan 41, Penn State 17. Michigan's McCarthy, 17 for 24, 145 yards and interception. Edwards, 16 rushes, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns. Corum, 28 rushes, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns. Clifford, Penn State, 7 for 19, 120 yards. Allen rushed for a touchdown. Jacobs had a 48-yard pick six. Clifford had that good long run that got him down close to the goal line. Michigan, 145 passing yards, 418 rushing yards, 563 total yards. Penn State, 157 passing yards, 111 in the rushing game, 268 total yards. Penn State played great defense in the first quarter. If I remember right, it's only 6-0 or 7-0 because Penn State was just letting them have it. Offense was kind of, but then they woke up in the second quarter. Like I said, Clifford had that big run. Then after halftime, it's like they went back to sleep again. I don't know what the hell was going on there. Michigan was pretty much balanced on both sides of the ball. Great pass protection, too. McCarthy had all day back there. He could have done his homework and shit. Good defense. Penn State, I don't know what to say. Yeah, they went and beat Auburn, but is Auburn really that good? So it's going to be interesting to see how Penn State does the rest of the season. Michigan, they got some, I'm not going to say hard games coming up, but they do got a few tough games, and you got the Ohio State game at the end. So, yeah, Michigan looks like they're on a roll again. Penn State looks like they may be just not middle of the road, but in between middle of the road and top. So, hell of a game last night. Did you see this one? Utah beats USC by 1, 43-42. Utah's rising, 415 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. He also ran for 3 touchdowns and 60 yards. Williams for USC, 381 passing yards, 5 touchdowns. Addison, 106 receiving yards and a touchdown. Like we said earlier, he went out with an injury. He went to an injury tent. Didn't see what the extent was. Both were 50% on third down. On fourth down, Utah was perfect, 3 for 3. So Utah defense stepped up. They sacked Williams 4 times. Utah ends up with 562 total yards. USC had 93 yards and penalties in this one. They ended up with 556 total yards. But yeah, if you didn't see it, that game went down to the wire. USC, a lot of penalties on that last drive. That I'm not going to say it cost them a win, but it had a lot to do with them not winning. What they have, like false starts and a couple other ones that just kept them on the other side of the 50. They couldn't cross the 50 because of the penalties. So crazy, crazy, crazy. Yes, the number 7 USC goes down. It's days like this you can't wait for the polls to come out because you want to see where teams moved up and where teams fell. So those should be coming out here in the next couple hours. 2 overtime game. I had this game. I was watching Alabama-Tennessee on TV. I had this game on the tablet, and it looked like Oklahoma State was just going to pound TCU. But hey, went into 2 overtimes. TCU won it 43-40. TCU's Duggan, 286 passing yards, threw for 2 touchdowns, also ran for a touchdown. Miller, 104 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Sanders for Oklahoma State, 245 passing yards, touchdown, and he also ran for 2 touchdowns. TCU, 286 passing yards, 224 rushing yards, 510 total yards. Oklahoma State, 245 passing yards, 141 rushing yards, 386 total yards. TCU knocks off Oklahoma State, which I really thought Oklahoma State was going to win this game. But I don't know. Auburn, what the hell do you think you were doing yesterday? You gave Mississippi a game. Mississippi still won 48-34, but what do you think you're doing? Huh? Dart from Mississippi, 130 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Judkins, 139 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Auburn's Bigsby, 20 rushes, 179 yards, 2 touchdowns. Both had under 150 passing yards in this one, but both had over 300 rushing yards. It was all on the ground yesterday. Mississippi, 12 for 19 on third downs. They ended up with 578 total yards. Defense forced 3 turnovers and had 3 sacks. Auburn was 4 for 13 on third downs, 441 total yards. I think the game was delayed for weather. I don't know how long it was delayed for, but I remember, about an hour or so after it should have been over, I kept seeing things. We're hoping to get this game restarted. I was like, damn, what's going on there in Mississippi? Syracuse 24, North Carolina State 9. Schrader for Syracuse, 210 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Gadsden, 141 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. Chambers for NC State, 160 passing yards, and he rushed for 58 yards. Syracuse, 389 total yards. NC State, 255. They only have 95 rushing yards in this game. Syracuse defense came through with 4 sacks. NC State kicker Chris Dunn, he scored all 9 points. So, I saw also something this is Syracuse's best start since I want to say back in the 80s or so, but I could have sworn they had a hell of a start back when Donovan McNabb was playing there back in the late 90s. Remember they went to the Fiesta Bowl that one year? What was that, 97, 98? I think they went to the Fiesta Bowl. And who did they play? I think they played Kansas State. So I figured that start was a heck of a lot better, but no, it was actually before. So congratulations if you're an Orangeman fan. Y'all are having a good year. Okay, I wanted to watch this one, but okay, I've bitched about Dish Network before. So I'm trying to put it on my tablet, and SEC Network's not showing up on the guide for Dish Network. I've told Dish Network about this for years, how a lot of times you'll be watching a game and it'll freeze and track, or channels won't show up on their guide, and they're all like, well, send us a message and tell us what's happening. So I'm telling you what's going on right now on your Facebook page. You can't read that. You can only read messages. So I didn't watch this one. I watched the LSU Florida game. I wanted to watch this one, but Kentucky 27, Mississippi State 17. Kentucky's Levis, he ended up playing 230 yards and a touchdown. Rodriguez comes back for the Ole Miss game a couple weeks ago. We were wondering which Rodriguez you're going to get. You haven't really been getting the good Rodriguez that we've seen, but did get him last night. 31 rushes, 197 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. So Rodriguez showed up for this one. Rogers for Mississippi State, 203 passing yards and a touchdown. UK, they were 6 for 15 on third down, 4 for 5 on fourth down, 478 total yards, 84 yards in penalties. Mississippi State, man, I don't know what their problem was. They just not play a good game. They only had 12 first downs, 3 for 11 on third down, 225 total yards, 22 rushing yards, 109 yards in penalties. Leach, I don't know what's going on in that guy's brain. Too bad we can't read it because, it'd be some crazy stuff. Well, if we can get the passing game to work like this, get the rushing game involved, really get balanced. Man, I love chocolate donuts, and they really go really good with a soda, too. Forget the milk. That'd be going on in his brain. Okay, I don't know what to make out of Kansas. Is this a Kansas team that's actually good this year, or is this the usual Kansas team that's not going to be good? Because they lost yesterday. I really thought they would win this game. Oklahoma's not as good. Kansas is good. Even with the backup quarterback in, Kansas is a good team. So maybe I don't know what happened here yesterday. I really don't. Oklahoma beats Kansas 52-42. Gabriel for Oklahoma, 403 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Gray, 176 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Willis, 102 receiving yards and a touchdown. Kansas, backup Bean. He's in. It's 265 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. See? He's good. He did throw 2 interceptions, but still. 265 yards and 4 touchdowns. Arnold, 113 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. Good day for him. OU was 16 for 21 on third down, 701 total yards. Their defense forced 3 turnovers. Kansas was 5 for 11 on third down, 430 total yards. Their defense forced 2 turnovers, but both only had 45 yards in penalties also. So what the penalties? Maybe it was the turnovers that Kansas only did lose by 10. So, one of my picks for yesterday, Kansas, they lost. I didn't figure Tennessee would win. I should have picked the USC-Utah game, but I figured USC was going to kill Utah. Utah lost a mediocre Florida team. So I should have picked that one. I could have been 2 for 1, but oh well. What are you going to do? UAB 34, Charlotte 20. Both quarterbacks in this game had over 200 yards passing and a touchdown. UAB's McBride, 137 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Bird for Charlotte, rushed for two touchdowns also. UAB ended up with 510 total yards. Ohio beat Western Michigan 33-14. Western Michigan's usually a decent team every year. They're just not very good this year. I don't know what the hell's going on over there. Rourke for Ohio, 264 passing yards. Bangura, he rushed for 2 touchdowns. Western Michigan, Salopek, 249 passing yards, a touchdown. This could be a reason why they lost this game at least. He threw 5 interceptions and he was sacked 5 times. Don't know what's happened in the other Western Michigan games, but I'm willing to bet right there. That might be the reason they lost yesterday. This one kind of shocked me. Michigan State, 2 overtime game. Michigan State wins 34-28. I know Wisconsin beat Northwestern last week. Northwestern is just not good. But they seem to have a fire behind them after everything that happened with Paul Chryst the week before. And Michigan State just hasn't been playing very well. I really figured Wisconsin would go in there and beat Michigan State. Michigan State beat them. Took 2 overtimes, but they beat them. Thorne from Michigan State, 265 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Coleman, 79 receiving yards and 2 touchdown catches. Mertz for Wisconsin, 131 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Allen had 103 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Michigan State, 389 total yards, only 99 rushing yards in this game, though. Defense did come up with 3 sacks. They had 103 yards in penalties. That ain't good. Wisconsin, 283 total yards, 2 turnovers. So, but yeah, I really thought Wisconsin was going to win that one. All right. North Texas 47, Louisiana Tech 27. North Texas Avon, how you say his name? Avon. 196 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Dig this, McNeil for La Tech. He threw for 424 yards and 2 touchdowns. They still lost by 20 points. Harris had 129 receiving yards and a touchdown catch. La Tech ended up with 504 total yards. Now, they only had 80 yards rushing. So, that could have something to do with it. North Texas, 3 for 3 on 4th downs. Pretty damn good. 671 total yards, 475 rushing yards. Defense came up with 7 sacks on La Tech. So, pretty good defense. Tulane, man. Tulane, what a team. They are 6-1 now. They beat South Florida yesterday, 45-31. Listen to this, Pratt, the quarterback. He's another one nobody talks about, I guess, because he plays at Tulane. 329 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and he also ran for 2 touchdowns. So Pratt here and the guy at Toledo, what was his name? Poon or something? I forget. Those are 2 good quarterbacks nobody ever talks about. Spears, 151 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Marsh for South Florida, 150 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Not too bad for him. Tulane, 564 total yards. South Florida, 14 first downs, 2 for 9 on 3rd down. So, South Alabama beat Louisiana Monroe, 41-34. Bradley for South Alabama, 420 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Lee, 2 rushing touchdowns. Wayne had 5 catches, 127 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Rogers, 371 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. Howell had 9 catches, 249 receiving yards, and 3 touchdowns. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in these group of 5 schools that nobody talks about because they're group of 5. South Alabama, La Monroe, Tulane, Toledo, Western Kentucky. A lot of good quarterbacks in these group of 5 schools, but I guess nobody really cares about group of 5. I do. I watch those games because I love college football. So, Washington 49, Arizona 39. Washington's Penix Jr. set a school record yesterday. 516 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, also rushed for a touchdown. This guy's incredible. Odunze, I think that's how you say the receiver name for Washington. 9 catches, 169 yards, 2 touchdowns. Daylor for Arizona. He's another good quarterback. He had a good day. 400 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. McMillan, 132 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. Washington, 495 total yards, 79 rushing yards. They did it all through the air. 43 yards in penalties. What coach would love to have 43 yards of penalties? Arizona, 526 total yards, 47 yards in penalties. You look at some of these games, and some of these teams are going up into the 60s and 80s, and even the hundreds in penalties. Man. Rice, poor Rice Owls. They had it. They were winning, but they lost to FAU 17-14. Perry for FAU, 126 passing yards and a touchdown. McMahon for Rice, 197 passing yards, touchdown, threw 3 interceptions, and was sacked 3 times. So that probably had a lot to do with it. And Rice scored 14 in the first, and that was it. They were done. They were 1 for 8 on 3rd down. So it's really no wonder Florida Atlantic won that game. Utah State wins. They beat Colorado State 17-13. Utah State 390 total yards. Colorado State 262 total yards. They were 2 for 15 on 3rd down. The game I watched, I had to watch because Dish Network app sucks. But it was a good game. I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. LSU 45, Florida 35. Daniels, man, what a freaking game he had. 349 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and ran for 3 touchdowns. And as I'm an Aggie fan first, LSU fan second. As a LSU fan second, I'm like, where the hell has this performance been all year? I mean, there's times out there he couldn't hit a broadside of a barn, and there's been times where he was right on the money. And there's some times where he ran good and times he ran didn't. It's like the whole LSU team. Somebody came in there Baton Rouge last week and had a come to Jesus meeting or something because they played outstanding, both sides of the ball. And the coaching was good too. I don't know what happened there in Baton Rouge this last week, but hey, whatever it was, it worked. Richardson for Florida, he wasn't too bad. 185 passing yards. TD ran for 109 yards and a touchdown, including that 81-yard TD run. Happened in the third or fourth quarter, I think it was. Sparked a fire into Florida. That was a hell of a run he had. Florida, though, they started fast and they kind of faded in that game until finally in the fourth quarter. They started trying to make a comeback. LSU, typical LSU, they started off slow, but then put it into high gear through the second and the third quarter. Faded a little bit in the fourth quarter, but still did enough to get the job done and win the game. LSU, 28 first downs, 8 for 12 on third down, 2 for 2 on fourth down, 528 total yards, for only 45 yards on penalties. Florida, 19 first downs, 7 for 12 on third down, 0 for 3 on fourth down, 395 total yards, 50 yards and penalties on that one. I still say Billy Napier is going to be a good coach. Let's get some more players in there, maybe change the staff a little bit. He's a good coach. I think he'll do good there if they give him time. That's the big key. Will they give him time? Southern Miss beat Arkansas State 20-19. Brett Favre was all happy. But Arkansas State quarterback Blackman, 236 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Foreman had 2 touchdown catches. East Carolina beat Memphis 47-45. Allers for East Carolina, 304 passing yards and a touchdown. Mitchell, 149 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. Hell of a game for him. Hennigan for Memphis, 407 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. He did throw 2 picks, but yeah. Martin had 2 rushing touchdowns. Stanford goes into South Bend and beats Notre Dame 16-14. Stanford's McKee, 288 passing yards. Filkins had a rushing TD. Notre Dame's Pine, 151 passing yards and a touchdown. Esteem, is that his name? He had a rushing touchdown. Merriweather had a touchdown catch. Stanford, 385 total yards. Notre Dame, 301. Josh Riccardi, the kicker for Stanford, he kicked 2 43-yard field goals and a 45-yard field goal in this one. It's good for him. Nebraska almost lost to Purdue 43-37. Nebraska's playing better each week. They keep getting a little bit better, a little bit better. I know they lost last night, but they were right there. They lost by 6 points. They played great, both sides of the ball. So I know people are saying Matt ruled in Nebraska, but I don't know what you got there in Nebraska with the intern coach and all the players rallying around. They're playing really, really good compared to how they were been playing earlier in the year and these last few years. Do you want to break that up? Like, you got a chemistry going right there that's getting better. But hey, I'm not an AD. I'm not a school president. They'll probably do what they want. But yeah, anyway, Nebraska loses by 6, but played a good game. Purdue's O'Connell, 391 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. He threw an interception. Mokabe, 178 rushing yards and a touchdown. Jones, 132 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns in this one. Thompson from Nebraska, 354 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. He did throw 2 picks. Palmer had 7 catches, 237 yards, 2 touchdowns. Purdue had 38 first downs, 9 for 18 on third down, 2 for 2 on fourth down, 608 total yards in this one. Defense, hey, they played good, forced 2 turnovers and had 4 sacks. Nebraska only had 15 first downs in this game, 3 for 9 on third down. But yeah, they keep getting better. See what's going to happen there with the coaching situation and all that. So now we got a rivalry in football. We've got one in basketball. Now it looks like we're having one in football. North Carolina beats Duke 38-35. North Carolina, 536 total yards. Duke, 542 total yards. May for North Carolina, 380 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Green, he rushed for 2 touchdowns. Leonard for Duke, 245 passing yards and a touchdown. Waters rushed for a touchdown also. So we may have a rivalry there in football also. Battle for the great state of New Mexico. New Mexico State wins 21-9. And it's amazing they won this game, okay? Frakes, quarterback, 119 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. That's not bad. I mean, it's not the best, but it's not bad. They only had 10 first downs in this game. They were 2 for 10 on third down, 225 total yards, 102 yards in penalties, and that still wasn't enough for New Mexico to beat them. So I don't know if New Mexico Lobos are just horrible. I haven't seen any of their games. Or if New Mexico State just somehow, the football gods shined on them and said, y'all need to win the state. Because that is some horrible crap right there to win. And you still win a game. So, Oregon State beat Washington State 24-10. Go Branson for Oregon State. 141 passing yards, touchdown, interception, 344 total yards. Ward for Washington State, 345 passing yards, touchdown, did throw an interception. He was sacked 6 times in this game. And Washington State ended up with 368 total yards. This one I thought was going to be a good one, but man, it was just all one-sided. Air Force beat UNLV 42-7. And if you pay attention to Mountain West football, UNLV is a good team this year. That's why I figured this was going to be a good game, but Air Force said no. UNLV scored their 7 points in the second quarter. That was it. They were done. Roberts for Air Force, 144 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns. They ended up with 420 total yards. Defense forced 4 turnovers. UNLV's Friel, 108 passing yards and a touchdown. They only had 9 first downs in this game. 179 total yards. But get this. You know, this coach, even though they got their ass whooped, you know he's happy about this. UNLV had 0 penalties. Air Force had 1 penalty for 10 yards. So, if you're a fan, for some reason, of penalties in games, this wasn't your game because only 1 penalty in that game. That's crazy. I don't know if I've ever seen that. I'm sure I have over the years, but I don't remember. Fresno. Wow, Fresno beat San Jose State 17-10. San Jose State's a lot better than Fresno. Fresno's Fife, 230 passing yards, touchdown, interception. He was sacked 3 times. San Jose State's Corderio, 294 passing yards, touchdown, interception. He was sacked 5 times. San Jose State, 331 total yards. Fresno, 334. Last but not least, Hawaii actually gets a win. 31-16, they beat Nevada. Shager for Hawaii, 173 passing yards and a touchdown. Pearson, 136 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. Nevada's Cox, 188 passing yards. Killiam had 3 field goals. Lee rushed for a touchdown. I think this is karma here, why Hawaii's not very good. Remember when we used to be able to watch their games late? You know, 4 or 5, maybe 6 times a year. They have a home game late at night for us on the mainland, so we get football till 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, then they stopped all that this year, and now they suck. I think it's karma for screwing all of us football fans. All right, that's it. We're done. Y'all enjoy NFL today. If you're watching any games, I think NASCAR's got a playoff race. Y'all enjoy that. Baseball, right in the middle of playoff. Boye won Astros, 18 innings, 1-0. I'm glad I didn't go to that one. But anyway, enjoy the rest of the weekend. Keep an eye on those polls today. See what's going to happen. We'll be back on Thursday to preview and review. I think there may be 1 or 2 games during the week before Thursday, like on Tuesday or Wednesday, but we'll see. Anyway, if there is, we'll go over those. We'll go over next weekend, anything that's going on. Y'all be safe. Be careful. See you next time.